The economy, obviously, top issue for voters. Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, you can see right there, Trump is ahead of her, at least in the Fox News poll, to Ashley Pratte and Higbie on if Trump can further cement his lead on this issue, beginning with today's speech. Ashley, what do you think?
So I think at this point, this speech is a whole reboot for his campaign. He's coming off of a disastrous week, and he needs to get back on message. So he sees the economy as the way to do that. He knows that that's an area where Clinton is a little bit weaker with voters, in particular independent voters who see her tax policies as something that would be detrimental to their economic future. But I think here, you know, and I think it was mentioned by Charles very, very well, there's a huge issue when it comes to Trump's speeches, right? There's the draft version, then there's the Trump delivery version. And I think if he sticks to his draft version, he might actually see a little bit of a bump. But I don't think so, because we know him to be tough on trade, right? And that's one thing that I really think is, for Republicans like me, a huge sticking point. When he talks about the economy, he also talks about increasing minimum wage and says he's open to that, which actually will hurt jobs and hurt small businesses. So I think he really needs to get on page with his messaging. Right. I think he needs to stick to his script. If he talks about, you know, tax deductions for middle-income families, middle-class families, I think that's great. But at the same time, he steers off in every which direction, and no one can actually get specific details from him on what he does, and that is what is concerning.
Okay. Okay, hold it right there. I just wanted to alert everyone, Mike Pence, Governor Mike Pence, on stage right now. So he's going to introduce Donald Trump. We should have Donald Trump shortly. I want to ask you real quick about this, Carl. You know, a lot of people on the Donald Trump team have to be behind closed doors, though, pushing him on certain areas. To that point, for instance, the higher minimum wage. Andy Posner said, listen, $10 is a killer. Harold Hamm has got to be pushing him on the notion that states should be able to ban fracking. We see it already having a major impact in Colorado, and so on and so on. You know, there are a lot of individual issues that behind the scenes, at least publicly, these economic advisors have not been on board with because they know it would not necessarily help their own businesses, Carl.
Well, that's true. And I think you look at the 10-10 minimum wage, which happened in Connecticut. I mean, you're absolutely right. McDonald's fired a large percent of his employees and replaced them with LCD screens. But what Donald Trump needs to hit on here, and like I said, we don't communicate directly with the campaign because I'm with Great America PAC, but we are pushing the notion that if you unleash the individual genius of the American economy, you will have unparalleled manufacturing and surge. Just like in World War II, we out-innovated because we unleashed the individual genius of the American economy. So if he gets government out of the way and lets them achieve whatever they want, like a 15% corporate tax rate, which he is alleged to say today, that will bring jobs back into America. And you made a great point, and Charlie made a great point as well, about the fact that there is a lag in some of that, but that takes time for the economy to realize that, yes, it's okay, we have a 15% corporate tax rate down from 39, which we are right now. It'll allow businesses to come back in. And guess what? When Hillary Clinton says, hey, Donald Trump, why are you making your ties in China? He should say, well, the rules you put in place that made it prohibitively expensive for me to produce things here in America, I'm going to change those and bring those jobs back here so they're made here along with your $15,000 pantsuits.
We should point out, though, that this is his 25th reboot.
Yes.
I hate to
Who's
say,
counting?
I lost count after 24, I thought. But,
but listen, the clock is ticking, though, right? We're down to 90 days. And you know, Ashley, some people are saying if you think about these jobs, for instance, that we're going to bring back, they pay Foxconn, which is the big manufacturer in China that makes the iPhones and all Samsung stuff, they pay $4,100 on average a year. You bring that job here, how do you make that a $50,000 a year job?
I think it's extremely difficult to do that, and what we haven't heard are specifics from Trump on how he plans to really, I think, boost when it comes to manufacturing and some of these jobs that have really moved out because of the fact that you can outsource them because they weren't exactly stable careers for a lot of people. I mean, my dad is someone who has worked in the mechanical engineering and manufacturing field, and they've produced medical devices. And guess what? Medical device tax was a killer. I'd like to hear something from Trump on that as well. And I think at this point we've seen a lot of jobs go by the wayside, but what we've heard from Trump time and time again is that he's more supportive of big government policies, and I don't like that necessarily because it should be up to states. What big government policies do
you think that he likes?
For example, for me, the big sticking point is the minimum wage issue, because that should be left to each state to decide, and we have seen time and time again that when you leave small businesses and states in charge of these decisions, the economy flourishes in those states rather than a federal mandate.
Yeah, right. For the record, though, Charlie, before you, Donald Trump says it should should be up to the states, but he'd like to see a federal minimum wage.
You know,
Yeah.
his economic record is somewhat schizophrenic, I think, because he just became a conservative. I mean, he
Well,
was,
I don't think he actually is.
Well, you're probably right, but he just recently started embracing some of these theories. I mean, listen. Here's the thing: he's for expansion of Medicare, Medicaid. I mean, he's not calling for cuts on any of this. Social Security, he's not calling for any cuts. Obamacare, not really calling for any cuts. Maybe he wants to change it. I mean, I don't think he can have your cake and eat it too. He's big government with tax cuts. That's problematic. Now, we may see a different thing here, which is what he should be honing on, a much more of a supply side record.
Right.
And Mike Pence is a pretty smart guy. I mean, he's got to be whispering in his ear, okay, you got to do something about the size of the government.
To your point.